Well, I think we can go ahead and begin. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy that you are with us. Thank you for joining us for the GAP's 2021 Grief Conference, Gaining Ground. This year's conference title was chosen because we wanted to offer hope and possibly inspire those who are in active grief. And as we gain ground in our journey, we meet new people along the way who have experienced similar type of losses. And we get to attend fantastic conferences. And we begin to move through our journey, and we begin to find purpose and meaning again, once again in our lives. So the GAP Network, and that is through grief, advocating for prevention, was created to bring information, education, advocacy, opportunities, networking, and supporting individuals who have suffered a loss to overdose, but now the GAP Network is in the process of expanding our reach to a much larger audience. So whoever you have, whatever your loss is today, I think you're going to find that our speakers are very inspirational. They themselves have lived the life, and I am very much looking forward to hearing them today. My name is Gretchen Addison, and I am the coordinator of the GAP Network. This time, I would like to introduce our chair of our advisory council for the GAP Network, Ellen Schoonover, and she has a few words to share with us this morning, and then she will introduce our keynote speaker. Ellen?
Good morning, everyone. I have the pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this morning, Travis W. Bornstein. Travis is the executive board president of Hope United. He is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and he is on his 8th term as president of Teamsters Local Number 24 in Akron, Ohio. Known for his honesty and integrity, Travis has been highly respected by both sides of the table for the past 20 years. As co-founder of Hope United, created in honor of his only son, Tyler, Travis is committed to helping to bring real solutions to the table to address the worst drug epidemic in US history. He is a sought-after speaker on addiction and recovery who has been featured in Forbes and Bloomberg. His testimony at the Ohio State House was instrumental in establishing Ohio's first Good Samaritan 911 law. Travis was set to testify on behalf of families in the 2019 federal lawsuit against opioid companies for Summit and Cuyahoga counties that was eventually settled before going to trial. He has also had meetings with members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, advocating for reforms in healthcare laws for treating those with the disease of addiction, and he led the charge to hold Big Pharma accountable for its part in the opioid crisis. Travis is a member of the National Advisory STOP, which stands for Surgical Task Force Organized to Prevent Opioid Abuse, dedicated to reducing unnecessary exposure to opioids in the surgical center. Please welcome with me, Travis Bornstein.
Morning. So let me first begin by saying I apologize for the COVID beard. It's how I ended up, so it's where I'm at. So I apologize for that. My wife always tells me don't apologize, but it's where I'm at. So let me just say it's an honor to be with you guys this morning. It's an honor to be a part of the GAP Network and everything that you guys do in an effort to help families and help encourage others, and to just bring attention to the issue that we're all working on. So let me first begin by saying my wife and I are the founders of Hope United. Hope United is basically formed on 3 pillars of education, support, and recovery. So to understand our journey, I think it's very important for first, let's just start just trying to understand who Tyler was and to tell you a little bit about our story and a little bit about Tyler. So if you could just bring up that first slide of Tyler. So just go one more slide. Thank you. So here's some pictures of Tyler. And let me kind of just tell you a little bit about him. Tyler graduated in 2009 from Lake High School. He was an honor student. He was an all-league and all-county golfer. He actually recorded 2 hole-in-ones before he turned 16 years old. His senior year, he decided not to play golf, but to go out for the football team. And at the end of the season, he earned the Senior Ironman Award. After high school and not playing competitive golf for over 2 years, he walked on the golf team at Walsh University, where he earned a golf and academic scholarship. And in 2013, he decided to do a bodybuilding show. And at the age of 22, he was announced runner-up junior Mr. Ohio. So how does a kid like Tyler get addicted to heroin? I think we all have images and the stigma that's associated with this thing on what we think a heroin addict or someone who's suffering for substance use disorder looks like. And a lot of times, I don't think it's the images that you see today. So here's what happened with Tyler. He had broke his right arm 4 times, and he had 2 surgeries on his right elbow. He was very active as a young man, played just about every sport, snowboarded, skied, all those kind of things, skateboard that all young kids do. And he kept banging up his right arm. So he had 2 surgeries on his right elbow. The first surgery was at age 11, and the second surgery was at age 18. And ultimately, Tyler got addicted to the opiate prescription pain pills. So over the next 5.5 years, almost 6 years, our life looked like relapse and recovery, relapse and recovery. And so we learned some very hard, painful lessons in that time. One, how hard it is to get that first year under your belt. Tyler could never get a full year. He could get 6 months. He could get 8 months of sobriety, but he could never get 1 full year. And so ultimately, we had Tyler in a treatment program. We taken him to a sober living facility in Florida, and he was down there. He had made a year-long commitment down there to go through their sober living program. And a couple months into the program, he relapsed and was kicked out of the program. While he was down there, he was homeless on the street for about 5 weeks. I was talking to him regularly. I had set up, all he had to do was call this number and they would come and get him right where he was at in an effort to get him back in treatment. Unfortunately, it took about 5 weeks of Tyler being homeless in Florida before he made the call. Once he made the call, they weren't able to put him into their treatment program. They had to take him directly to the hospital, where he ended up with MRSA in his right arm, the same arm that he had broke and had 2 surgeries on. So he spent the next 21 days in the hospital with MRSA, and Shelly and I left Ohio and went to Florida and spent the next 3 weeks with him in the hospital. Once he came out of that and was released out of the hospital, we got him back into a sober living program. Ultimately, he spent about 3 more months down there and decided to come back home. And so he was back home in Ohio for about a month when he relapsed again. And so in September 28th of 2014, Tyler was in the process of overdosing, and the person he was with, instead of calling 911 for help, took my son to a vacant lot and dumped him in the field and left him there to die. The next day, a resident who was walking in the morning saw a dead body in a vacant lot and called 911. So what do you do when your only son, all your hopes and dreams, are left in a field to die? I can tell you, it has been the hardest journey of my life. It has been one of the most painful experiences I have ever been through as an individual. And it has certainly been a challenging time for my wife and I and our family. But one of the things that, that I knew and that I've often tried to work on is a lot of time we don't get to control our circumstances. We really only get to control how we respond to our circumstances. And so, our family, my wife and I, we just tried to decide that we were going to try to respond the right way. And so if you could go to the next slide, I kind of want to walk through a little bit of some things that helped me, and these are really things that I did to try to deal with grief and to try to recover. I'm not saying any of these individual things are, it's going to fix everything, it's going to make everything right, because unfortunately, grief is probably the most difficult journey you're ever going to be on. And I think most folks who's on this call or are participating in this understand that. So for me, one of the things that I knew right out of the gate was that I had to have forgiveness. And so what I would encourage each of you is to figure out who and what must be forgiven for you to begin to heal. And so for me, as I looked at it, I had several people that I felt like I had to forgive. One was the doctor giving opiates to an 11-year-old boy, not explaining to us. I didn't even know what an opiate was. Not sitting down and explaining to us how addictive opiates were. I'm not a real smart guy, but I think I would have figured out if the doctor would have said, we're giving your son heroin. I think I would have figured that out. Okay. So I had to forgive the doctor. I had to forgive the drug dealer. I had to forgive the kid who dumped my son in a vacant field like a piece of trash. But most of all, through my journey, I had to forgive myself. And that was probably the single hardest thing that I've had to do. And that is because I didn't understand addiction as a disease when we were going through it. I felt like I failed as a father. I felt like my son was a moral failure simply because I didn't understand addiction as a disease. And so it wasn't until after Tyler died that I became educated and really spent a lot of time getting myself educated and to understand addiction as a disease and not a moral failure. And the stigma that's associated with substance use disorders keeps families from raising their hand, keeps families and keeps people who are struggling from raising their hand to get help. So we all have a lot of work to do as it relates to the stigma that's associated with the disease of addiction or substance use disorder. For you and for me, on my journey of grief, the single biggest thing that I had to do was to work on forgiveness. The other thing that I'm going to say, and is it's just how I feel and how I knew I was going to be. I was either going to get bitter or I was going to get better. And I just felt like I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to be mad at the world. I didn't want to come home and kick my dog for no reason. And I knew that if I didn't start working on my recovery through my grief, I was going to become a very bitter person. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that for my family. And I didn't want that for myself. The other thing I want to talk a little bit more is about forgiveness. And I think, we're all going through this journey differently. Some of us have spouse beside of us, some of us don't. Some of us have a strong family network, some of us don't. And all those kind of things, I think you got to try to figure out. But on the forgiveness side, one of the things that I think was really important for me, and it was at a critical moment that I knew that as the leader of my family, that I had to show forgiveness in an effort to really help my family get to the point of forgiveness. So one of the things that we were able to do is, obviously, what happened is when this kid pulled Tyler out of the car and dumped him in this field, his driver's license fell out of his pocket. So when 911 got there the next day and found Tyler, they also found this kid's driver's license. And so they were able to arrest him right away. He worked with undercover and made a couple more buys, and they got the drug dealer. And in this case, the drug dealer was an 18-year-old kid who sold the lethal dose of heroin that was laced with fentanyl that killed my son. So there's just no easy thing in all of this, right? An 18-year-old kid whose life is maybe ruined because he made some real bad decisions to sell, heroin and fentanyl. And I just knew that I need to lead our family and set the example of forgiveness. And so when we got to the trial, we were able to speak. The judge gave us permission to speak. And I just felt like that was a real critical moment for our family. It was probably about a year into our journey of after Tyler had passed. But I just thought it was really important for my wife and for my daughters and for the rest of our family, see their dad look this kid in the face and say, I forgive you. And the reason why I did that was not for him. It was for me, because I knew I had to have forgiveness in my heart. And I knew that my family, the only way that they were going to heal is if they saw their father help lead this charge. Okay. And so now I don't want to act like that was easy. I don't want to act like that was, you know, it's an easy thing to do. Because to be quite honest, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever did. But I also knew that it was the only way that I was going to get to the point of my recovery in my journey. And that had to be the very first thing that I did. So I didn't become a bitter person, but a better person. And so I think for all of you who are also in this journey, wherever you're at in this journey, there's lots of things that as you look back on your own specific journey of areas that you probably need to forgive. And I want to encourage you to seek that forgiveness. And you need to determine who and what must be forgiven for you. But I want to encourage you to really work on doing that because I really do believe it's a stronghold in your life that's going to keep you trapped if you can't walk down that path. So some other things that I think is very important on your journey for recovery and self-care, friends, family, support groups, and any form of professional counseling. So just like most men, that's the part of this, I was 100% against counseling. It's not something that I wanted to do. I'm just your typical guy that, I can handle it. I don't need counseling and all those kind of things. However, my wife signed us up for traumatic stress type counseling, PTSD counseling. It's a real good program here at St. Thomas Hospital in Akron. And at the time she signed us up, there was a 6-month waiting list. And we couldn't get in counseling right away. And that 6 months helped soften my heart to get to a point of going to counseling with my wife. And Shelly and I spent about the next year and a half going to professional counseling. And I can tell you it was instrumental in our recovery, in my recovery. The bottom line is those folks are professional. They've had a lot of training, a lot of education on how to help you work through your pain, work through your trauma, and work through your grief. So I would encourage you to get a network of people around you. Again, whether that's friends, whether that's families, whether that's support groups, and or professional counseling. The key to all of that is that you have someone that unconditionally loves you and cares about you and only wants you to get better. So you can vent, so you can cry, so you can do whatever you need to do to help heal the wounds and help you on your journey for recovery. The other thing that I really do think is important is gratitude. And man, it's hard to have a thankful heart when your heart has been ripped out, right? It's hard to be thankful, for all the things that you really do have. And when we sit back and we look at our lives, I personally have a lot of things to be thankful for. And so I can focus on all the things that really hurt me, or I can focus on all the things that really help me. And I think you have a choice as you work through this journey of grief and pain to focus on the things that you're thankful for. So I would encourage you to practice gratitude. I would encourage you to get outside, go for long walks, get out in nature, listen to the birds, enjoy the sun, go to the beach, do something where you like and you feel peace and energy to spend some time there, and working through your issues and practice gratitude. The other thing that was really huge for me is exercise. Um, you know, I was pretty athletic in high school, was in the Marine Corps. I've always tried to maintain a form of physical fitness. I learned real early that exercise helped me work through my pain, work through my grief, work through my stress in life. And I always felt like when I was in the gym, I just felt better. And there's all type of scientific evidence that supports that your body releases dopamine and other chemicals to help you feel better. And so I've always worked out with weights, and it gave me an opportunity to be mad and be angry and go in the gym and exercise with a lot of intensity in an effort to work through my pain. However, that might not be for you, but I do think there's all kinds of forms of exercise that can work for you. And that could be, just going on walks. It could be yoga. It could be boot camps. It could be, some form of cardio, riding a bike, jogging, whatever any of that looks like for you. I would encourage you to get moving. And the reason why I say it that way is because early in our grief and early in my grief, the hardest thing for me to do was to actually move. You're paralyzed, you're in shock, your mind is really going 100 miles an hour, and your body just wants to shut down. And the problem with that is the longer that you sit, the longer that you lay there, the harder it is to get moving. And the bottom line is our bodies are meant to move. And so I would encourage you to really start to move some way. And like I said, if it's just going on 10-minute walks, whatever that looks like for you, I would encourage you to do that. The other thing, meditation and faith, I want to be a little bit careful here, just because my faith might not be your faith, and it's not my intent to drive my faith into you, but to be totally honest, my faith in Jesus Christ is the only reason why I believe that I've been able to, and my family's been able to get through this journey. So I would just encourage you to figure out your faith. Okay. In 12-step programs, they talk about a higher power, and so forth. And, I think that's very important to figure out your faith. In my faith, one of the things that I knew right away is Jesus wasn't knocked off the throne because Travis's son died, right? And Travis wasn't the first guy to ever lose a child. And Travis wasn't the first guy to ever lose a child to an overdose, right? And Travis wasn't the first guy to ever lose a child to a tragic event, right? Now, when we're going through that, we certainly feel that way. We certainly feel like that. But through my faith, I really knew that Christ had a purpose for our pain and for our suffering. and that if I could just become obedient through that, he would use it in a way bigger than I could ever imagine, you know? And so, Shelly and I and our family has tried to do that. So I would just, again, encourage you to figure out your faith and to work on it. The other thing that I think is really, really important is we all have a very unique experience. And, through different support groups and different seminars, we've come around each other, and we've also learned that a lot of our journey is exactly the same. A lot of our kids were a lot alike, right? And I really do think that if you can use your pain in a way and your grief in a way to reach back and help someone else and come alongside someone else, I think it is a really great way, and I think you'll find a lot of rewards in that. Again, in my faith, I don't believe Christ lets us go through things just to let us go through them, to make us suffer and all of those kind of things. I really believe that there's a purpose and that there's a divine purpose for each one of us. And, the hard thing is to step into that. And so I would encourage you guys really to use your pain, use your grief, use your journey in a way to reach back and help someone else. And I think that there's just so many opportunities to do that. And sometimes we think, oh, we got to change the world, and I don't have the skill set to change the world. Well, that's maybe true, okay, but I also think that maybe you can just change someone in your family, that might change somebody in your neighborhood, that might change somebody in your city, that might change somebody in your state, that might change somebody in your country, that might change somebody in the world, right? And everything that we do can have a rippling effect if we can slow down and just try to do the little things. One of the things that I learned in the Marine Corps and that I try to apply in my life is how we do the little things is how we do everything. So if we can't do the little things right, we can't do the big things right. But if we can do the little things, it will propel us into doing the big things. So I want to encourage you that way. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we were a part of. Excuse me. Some of the things that we were a part of, some of the things that kind of propelled us a little bit. So I've got a bunch of stuff here listed, and we'll get through some of it. But one of the things that was really instrumental into our journey and our family's journey is we attended a federal response in Washington, D.C. on the opiate epidemic that was led by the national group Fed Up. And it was like a 3 or 4 day event where we did a march in Washington, D.C. There was tens of thousands of people there that again, you think you're the only person that this has happened to, and you see all these people coming into Washington from different parts of the country who has a very similar journey to yours. And then that led into a concert that was performed too. And it was just a huge event. It was very surreal. But on the same token, it was really the beginning steps for our family to really see what we could be a part of. I think the other thing, for me, and I think probably most of you, is, we got to figure out what life's about, right? And for me, my life has always tried to be about being a part of something that's bigger than myself, right? Part of the reason why I went in the Marine Corps is because I felt like the Marine Corps was an elite military organization, and I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, right? And one of the things that, I'm proud about in my job is every day I get to work with people and represent people and get to be a part of something bigger than myself. And this epidemic and those affected by substance use disorder, if we handle this the right way, we can be a part of something so much bigger than ourselves, so I want to encourage you on that. So from there, our family formed Hope United. Hope United's basically formed on 3 pillars: education, support, and recovery. One of the things we were a part of is I was given the opportunity to testify several times at the Ohio State House on Ohio's first Good Samaritan law. And most of you probably know what that is, but that's immunity for someone who calls 911 wherein they're in the process of seeing somebody overdose. And so that was huge for me because that's exactly, what happened to us. Is this kid obviously was afraid to call 911, or he panicked, or he felt like he was going to get in trouble because he was under the influence, or maybe he had drugs on him and so forth. And so instead of calling 911, he dumps Tyler in the field and leaves him there to die, right? And so this was a big deal to our family. I don't know that it's a perfect law. I think there's probably lots of room for improvement in the law, but it was a good step in the right direction to try to encourage people who are also struggling with substance use disorder to call 911 when someone's in the process of overdosing. So shortly after that, I was given the opportunity to speak at our national convention. And as you heard, in our bio, I am the president of Teamsters Local 24. Every 5 years, we have a national convention in Las Vegas. And so I wrote a letter to the general president and just kind of shared with him our story and just kind of said, listen, as union leaders, we're community leaders, and there's nothing that's impacting our communities bigger than this epidemic. And so he gave me the opportunity to speak. And so there was probably, 5,000 delegates in the room from all across the United States and Canada and Puerto Rico. And I just kind of poured out my heart. I kind of shared our story. I talked for about 15 minutes or so. And then after I was done, delegates started coming to the mic and making pledges to support our nonprofit. The first donation was $5,000. The second donation was $10,000. The third donation was $50,000, led by our general president, Jim Hoffa. And this went on for almost 2 hours. And after it was all done, there was pledges for $1.3 million. And you can't even I can't even put it into words today, what that was like. I was so happy that my wife was with me, and my oldest daughter was with us, to just watch this happen, because it was such an event that, you couldn't even dream to happen, or you couldn't even, you couldn't even, I couldn't even hardly believe it was real. But the crazy thing about it is that as people were coming to the mic and making pledges to, $500, $1,000, or whatever it was, they were also sharing their stories. And their story was very similar to our story. My nephew, or my dad's struggles, or whatever. And it just, you could just see the walls just breaking down of the stigma that's associated with substance use disorder. And I think one of the best things that happened was there was several guys that came to the mic and said, listen, I've been in recovery for 20 years, but I've never told nobody because of the stigma that's associated with this thing. And I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand up today and say that I'm in recovery, right? And that was so powerful, to be in that room and to be a part of that. And so again, there's an example of an event that is so much bigger, than all of us. So out of that, really triggered the Teamsters Union to, I think the general executive board of the Teamsters Union could clearly see that this epidemic was not only affecting our members, but it was affecting the communities in which they live, right? And so that was crystal clear to everybody that was in that room, because you can't raise $1 million because you told a sad story, right? You raise $1 million because everybody in the room can relate to the story, because it was happening in their neighborhood and their community too. And I often get asked that question is, why do you think, you could raise $1 million that fast? Well, it's exactly what I said, because everything that I said, everybody in that room could relate to, because it was happening in their neighborhood and their communities. And so what that did is it really provoked the Teamsters Union to see how we could make a difference and try to help hold, the pharmaceutical companies accountable. And so through our investments and through investments in our pension funds and so forth, we have a lot of stock and pension money that's invested in a lot of companies. So the big three pharmaceutical distributors who control 85% of all the distribution of pharmaceuticals back into the neighborhoods is McKesson, AmerisourceBergen, and Cardinal Health. They are the big three, and they control 85% of all the distribution. So I was able to work directly with the number 2 guy. His name is Ken Hall, who is the General Secretary Treasurer for the Teamsters Union. And because we had shares in these companies, we were able to go to these shareholder meetings and make proposals. I was able to kind of share our story and look the CEO and these shareholders in the face. And, in that, I don't know if it was rewarding or not, but I certainly got the opportunity, to look these guys in the face and say, listen, these are people, and you guys are putting profits above people, and you're flooding our communities with opiates, and you're destroying our families, and you're destroying our neighborhoods, and you guys need to take some ownership of this, okay? And so some of the things that happened out of that was all three companies, some of the reforms that we asked for is that all three companies appoint an independent chair. All three companies did that. Two of the three CEOs resigned. We put those proposals on the floor. And probably the best one for me was at McKesson. They had one of the plans that was on the floor was to support the CEO's $1 million pay bonus for how great of a job he did, flooding our communities with opiates. And we were able to put a proposal on the floor to not pay him that money. And 75% of the shareholders voted with the Teamsters and refused to pay him his bonus. And so, again, that's just an example of trying to be a part of something that's way bigger than yourself. And so if you would just kind of flip to the next slide, just kind of want to recap here real quick. I got a couple minutes. And then, obviously, if anybody has any questions, certainly, be willing to do all that. But kind of in summary, I think that the first thing we all have to do is understand that addiction is a disease and not a moral failure. That was huge for me. It was huge for me to understand and to be able to forgive myself because I didn't understand that when we were going through it. Again, I felt like I failed as a father and that my son was a moral failure. I really do think that you have to have self-care. You can't give something you don't have. So if you're empty, if you're tired, if you're exhausted, you can't give nothing away, okay? And so you have to put some people around you to fill you back up, okay? You have to put some safeguards in your life to bring you back to life, to give you energy, to give you passion and enthusiasm to be able to use your story and use your journey. So whatever that toolkit looks like for you, you got to figure it out, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's support groups, whether that's professional counseling. It's very important that you have some people around you to fill you back up and to recharge you. And sometimes you just need to take a break, right? You just need to go sit down, maybe take a long weekend, do something and just rest, okay? The key to all of this is you can't give something you don't have, right? And sometimes, I say this, and this is going to sound a little bit harsh, and I really don't mean it that way, but sometimes as parents, because we've lost a child and we're all ticked off and our world's been dumped on our head, we go out and vomit all over everybody because we're so, angry. And that don't help our cause, right? That don't help our cause, okay? So I want to encourage you, to, bring yourself back to life. And then the next thing is, where do I start? Well, first start in your own family, because my guess is you probably have some members in your own family that don't understand addiction as a disease, okay? And then, it just goes from there, from my family to my neighborhood to my schools. How can I support the school system? How can we educate our youth? What can we do for prevention? I think sometimes, as families, we want to rush out and form a nonprofit, which I'm not saying is bad, okay? But the problem with the nonprofit is it takes lots of money to run a nonprofit, right? And, so maybe you just come alongside another nonprofit and support them. There's all kinds of things you can do within your community, within your local ADM board, within your schools, and to get a part of. Find your niche. Find what you think is important to you, where you feel your story, if you use it the right way, can encourage and support and help someone else. And so with that, I think I'm right at about 45 minutes. I want to say one more thing and then I'll stop. So when I was in the Marine Corps, we had this slogan, and it was, pain is beautiful, extreme pain is extremely beautiful, right? And I know that sounds crazy to most people, but the fact is we had to embrace the pain to accomplish the mission, right? We had to embrace the pain to accomplish the mission. And what I've learned in my journey in dealing with my own grief and watching people in recovery and people that are struggling with substance use disorder is that this is all surrounding trauma and pain, right? Whether that pain was physical pain, in my son's case where he broke his right arm, okay? Whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, okay? This is a pain issue. And what we fail to do as a society today is embrace the pain in our life. But let me tell you that if you can embrace the pain of your journey, you can help transform your neighborhood, you can help transform your family, and I think you can be a part of something that's way bigger than ourselves. So thank you guys this morning for letting me be a part of this webinar this morning, and it's an honor for me to spend some time with you guys, and if appropriate, I'm available for questions or however you guys would like to handle that from there. So, Gretchen, thank you very much. It was an honor to share our story with you guys this morning.
Thank you so much, Travis. What a moving story. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you spending some time with us today. Right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then I will be introducing our next speaker, who will also be speaking on advocacy. So we'll see you in 10 minutes. Good morning and welcome back from our break. At this time, I would like to introduce our next speaker is JP Dorval. And JP serves as Prevention Action Alliance's Manager of Legislative Affairs and Administrative Services. He aims to use his experience and love for public service to help increase Prevention Action Alliance's impact and reach. Prior to joining PAA, he served as the Senior Legislative Aide to the Ohio Senate's Assistant Minority Leader, Senator Charlotta Tavares of the 15th District. In his role as Senior Legislative Aide, he was responsible for numerous administrative and legislative duties. JP has a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from the University of Chicago and has done work in Chicago public school systems, the Office of Presidential Correspondence under the Obama administration, and 270 Strategies, a Chicago-based management consulting firm. He enjoys playing basketball, listening to and making music, watching movies, and spending time with friends and family. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you, JP.
Thanks, Gretchen. And I actually just realized that that bio has my old title. So I'm sorry about that. That's on me. But my new title is Advocacy and Public Policy Liaison. So if people are searching our site and saying, hey, that's not what his title is currently, that's why. So give me 1 second as I share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. And it's the slide screen, not the other screen.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. As Gretchen mentioned, my name is JP Dorval. I'm the Advocacy and Public Policy Liaison. But before I start, I do want to thank Mr. Bornstein for sharing his journey and sharing the story of his son. It's extremely powerful and really feeds in perfectly into my presentation today, Advocacy 101. He is a perfect example of an advocate. And the purpose of this presentation today is to share with everyone and really have a conversation about, advocacy, how it manifests, in your lives, and really to show you all that you all have the skills necessary to do it. You're well equipped to do it. And I know advocacy, depending on who you are, can be a daunting task or can have some level of mystification, but I do want to demystify the world of advocacy for you all, and really walk through with you all what steps you can take to help you on your journey to advocate, and any other skills or tools that you can utilize in doing so. So I do want this presentation to be interactive. I know that this topic can be boring at times, but given your story, given what you all are attempting to do, I really want to have a conversation with you all, and I really want it to be engaging. So again, Advocacy and Public Policy Liaison. I used to work for Senator Tavares, 15th District. She was an Ohio Senator. So I have experience both in the General Assembly and outside of the General Assembly. And that's really helped me to put together a picture of what folks need to know when they're trying to advocate or would like to engage in advocacy. So as I mentioned, I really want this to be interactive. So if you all could use the chat function for this, that would be great. But advocacy, what is it? Feel free to put some words in the chat. What is it, and what images come to mind for you all when you think of the word advocacy? I'm just going to leave a minute or two to allow you guys to put some things in the chat. Okay, so I see standing up for something. Oh, there's a lot coming in. Standing up and representing those who are unable to speak. Fighting for a cause. Setting out to make change. Being a voice for others. Bringing awareness of a certain issue. Helping to alter or change policy on a community, local or state level or federal level. Support for those in need. The ability to stand in the gap for someone. Empathy is a trait of an advocate. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I love all of those answers. So building off of that, what makes a good advocate? And that last comment definitely touches on it. Empathy is important. But what other things in all of your opinions make a good advocate? And again, feel free to put responses in the chat. So I see someone that has been through the fight, speaking up for ourselves and others regarding an issue of importance that many times needs change or voice. Okay, so that's for the previous one. Strong, passionate leader, sharing with vulnerability, purpose, and experience, yes. Someone who understands and is empathetic, empathy for others. Beautiful. So I mean, you guys laid it out. Generally, the official definition of advocacy is the act or process of supporting a cause or proposal. But advocacy can take many forms, right? It can be speaking out on a certain issue, right? It could be testifying. It could be speaking on behalf of someone else or yourself, sharing your journey, sharing someone else's story. These are all great examples of advocacy. And when it comes to what makes a good advocate, empathy, right? Understanding, being able, if you've gone through that fight right? Knowing, having that perseverance to push forward even when things are slow. Those are all great answers to what makes a good advocate. So I want to discuss, for me, in my role, what I do when I'm preparing an advocacy plan. You can call it a game plan, you can call it a strategy, whatever you want to call it. I want to go over the steps that go through my mind when I'm trying to speak out on something, right? Either in my personal life or in my capacity as the Advocacy and Public Policy Liaison for Prevention Action Alliance. I want to share that process with you and really go through it step by step. And at the end, I want to have a discussion about if there's any steps that you think I'm missing in this process, or any steps that you can think of that I did not think of. Because again, I do want this to be a conversation. So first thing, when you're setting out to advocate, you're setting out to create your advocacy game plan, you need to know your issue, you need to know your ask. There have been times, especially when I was in the Ohio Senate as legislative aide, where folks would come in and they would have an issue, but it would be a broad issue. And then at the end of the day, my senator, other senators, people in the caucus or people in the chamber would ask, okay, what do you want us to do to address your issue? And if you don't have that answer, that can slow things down, that can cause issues. So first things first, know your issue, have your ask. Come to the meeting with your issue and your ask. And that will make the meeting or whatever you're trying to do within the realm of advocacy more productive, and you'll see better results in doing so. Second thing that you probably want to do is find your ally and or form a team. And GAP is a perfect example of having a team and having allies, right? You guys have this network of individuals who share your experience, who share your journey or have similar journeys and stories to you all that you can confer with, that you can work with, and you guys have a unified voice when you're trying to advocate to whatever decision maker you're trying to advocate to, right? And on top of this, right, who within your audience, right, whoever you're advocating to, is in your camp, right? Were they affected by what you're trying to advocate for? Do they also have your journey, right? The more voices you have, the better. So having that team, having that collective experience, and having an ally or finding an ally is really important and it's critical. In the space of the General Assembly, and this applies to city councils, Congress, if you can find a member, right, or someone within, that space that is an ally. So if you're looking at their prior experience, maybe they were a school teacher and they had kids who dealt with substance abuse. Maybe they're a parent and they had their own story with substance abuse. Maybe they're in recovery themselves. If you can find that information and share your story with them, that is how you create an ally, right? So researching folks, which we'll get to later in the list, is important, especially when you're dealing with policymakers, decision makers. But make sure when you're looking at their stories and you're looking at their background, think who here can be an ally. Because if you have that one person within the whatever machine you're trying to affect, whether that's Congress, and you look at federal legislation, state or city council, whatever local entity, if you have one person within that space that is completely bought in, that knows your story and is willing to take it to the next step, that helps a ton. And Mr. Bornstein had a wonderful example of that. He has plenty of experience testifying in Congress and really, collecting the voices of numerous people and then bringing that to decision makers. That's what we're talking about. So number 3, and I'll go into what the lifts necessarily mean, but you need to know who you're advocating to and what tools are you using, who makes that decision, right? So if you're trying to change something in your neighborhood, in your local community, are you trying to reach out to city council? Is there a civic association that you're trying to reach out to, right? If you're trying to affect something on a greater national scale, Congress, right? Is there a federal department that you need to reach out to? And when it comes to state, same thing. If it's a statewide issue that needs statewide change, testifying, communicating, reaching out to the General Assembly or the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, or to state associations that do that work, like Prevention Action Alliance and going through the GAP network, right? You need to know who you're advocating to. There are times when folks take local community issues, things that they see in their neighborhood, and they bring them to Congress, right? And that is all great. You guys are constituents. However, if you don't have the right audience and you don't know who you're necessarily advocating to, your ask and your goal can get lost. So that's probably the third most important thing that you need to do when developing an advocacy game plan or trying to advocate, is knowing who you're advocating to and what tools you're going to use to advocate. Number 4, do your research and use your story. You all have stories that need to be shared. And once you couple data with that story, that equals success. Data and stories equal success. Another thing I want to mention on this one is keep it concise. It's easy to lose someone in your story, especially when it comes to stories about substance abuse, substance misuse, and your journeys. But what I will say is, if you're talking to decision makers especially, keeping it concise will make your impact greater. If you have I don't know if you, I'm sure many of you have heard of, an elevator pitch, 3 to 4 minutes, giving your story from beginning to end, and then having that ask at the end of it. You don't want to cram too much info in there, and the same goes with data. If you're testifying, if you're sending a letter, you don't want an entire quarter of the letter or half a page to just be straight statistics, because you're going to lose people, right? Utilize your story, make the story the main thing that you're discussing in a concise format, and then supplement that with data. And there you go. I mean, that is the formula for success when you're advocating to decision makers, when you're testifying on an issue, when you're trying to get people to join your cause. That is the formula for success there. Next thing, execute your method and have multiple plans. Make a timeline, right? If you're trying to get something changed, let's just say you're trying to get something on the ballot. It's an issue campaign. When is that item going to be on the ballot? How long do you need to reach the steps in order to get that item on the ballot? If you're trying to get a bill introduced, the General Assembly runs for 2 years. Start a timeline. Okay, from January through December, this is what I'm going to do. And along that timeline, have goals, have deadlines, assign tasks, keep yourself organized, so that if things don't go your way, which they do, you can pivot. And the having multiple plans piece. When I'm advocating on a bill regarding mental health, regarding substance misuse, or what have you, I have multiple plans. You need a plan A, plan B, plan C, D, whole alphabet, because you never know what's not going to work. Advocacy is not, nothing is guaranteed, right? So you want to be able to pivot at any point and have a backup plan for your backup plan. So if you're trying to get something introduced and you think a member is going to make a good ally, right? You make the pitch, you reach out to them. They end up changing their mind or something happens. Who's that next member? Who's that next decision maker, right? If you're trying to change something at a statewide level and you're running into roadblocks, okay, maybe start local, have different plans. And that way, there will never be a time where you feel stuck, right? You will always have the next step in mind. That'll help a ton when you're talking about perseverance and stamina, because advocacy work can take a lot of energy from you. So having a lot of different plans, a lot of different, tactics in place as you build that timeline, as you make that strategic plan, will help you in the long run. And once you're over, right? Once you go through a plan to completion, whether it was fully completed or partially completed, review the outcome, right? Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve? Was there a compromise? Bring in fresh voices, new voices, other folks. If you go through a game plan or you get something introduced or you receive some outcome, right? And at the end of it, you really want to step away for your own mental health and to recuperate. Just because you step away doesn't mean the work needs to stop, right? So if you go through a plan and you're done for a little bit, bring in other voices, bring in other folks, bring in other allies, have someone who can step into your spot while you recuperate, while you gain that stamina back. Because again, especially when you're dealing with stories of substance misuse and mental health, it can be taxing. It can be emotionally taxing. It can be draining. So I understand folks needing to take a step back, putting up that boundary to say, hey, I need to take care of myself for a little bit before I go back into this work. Make sure you have another person ready to step in place. And when you're reviewing an outcome, review, within the game plan, was there anything that you could have done better? Was there a different approach that would have been more effective? All important. And lastly, stay vigilant. The wheels of progress move slow, but they're still moving, right? Every action builds on a past action. You need to persevere. Even if you don't think that you've reached the outcome that you wanted or that you should have gotten, just the fact that you're engaging in the advocacy space at all is a win. And things take time, but they will move forward. So my final message when it comes to creating that game plan, creating that advocacy strategy is persevere and make sure you have a good support system in place as well. So after going through all 7 of these, I wanted to open up to questions. Is there any step that you think is missing in this process, or something that you're thinking, hey, JP, this is something that we can squeeze in here, or where does this fit in this general 7-step process when creating an advocacy game plan? I'll just leave it open for a minute or two. Alrighty, I don't see anything coming in. But if you guys, mentors, right, mentors. And are you referring to mentors for others, or you being a mentor, or receiving mentorship? Because when I see the word mentors, I'm really thinking of that number 6 bullet, preparing others, mentoring others, right? If you want to receive mentorship, that is great. Guiding you in general advocacy. I think that is a step that really could even go before number 1, right? If you're new to advocacy and you don't even know where to start, you have this game plan in place, you know the bullets, but you really want to know how to even engage in the first place. Reaching out to someone else, reaching out to a state association, right? I'm an open book. If you have any questions about, what step you need to take, feel free to reach out to me. You look at Mr. Bornstein's story, reach out to him. That can either go towards the end or at the beginning. So, but mentorship is very important when you're trying to advocate, especially if you're new to the space. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And I hope that answers your question. So I just want to go into the lifts. And this the items that I have under low lift, medium, heavy lift are not set in stone. This list is meant to be fluid, but based on what I've seen, this is what I see people categorizing as low lifts, medium lifts, heavy lifts. And once again, kind of going back to the game plan very quickly, this fits in bullet number 3, picking your method. So the method should really match up with the audience, right? So for example, a great entry-level task or entry-level activity into advocacy is sending an email or sending a letter. People underestimate the power of an email. Sending an email to an office, sending an email to your city manager, your city mayor, your city council, your civic association, a company in your area, an organization in your area. Sending an email or sending a letter might seem like a simple task, but it can have some of the greatest outcomes. When you're writing an email and you're writing a letter, a lot of folks get caught up in, it needs to be perfect. I need to address this individual in this certain way. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be formal. I can tell you as a legislative aide, If you're sending an email, or as a former legislative aide, I must say, if you're sending an email to an office, you don't necessarily have to say, dear Senator so-and-so, dear Representative so-and-so, and have all the honorifics in place, right? Just say, hey, I'm a constituent. I have this issue. Can you help? Right? And that goes for anyone. I really want folks to understand that it's really the message that matters the most. We can talk about the honorifics and how to address people after the fact and in the official capacity, like if you're testifying. But if you're trying to send a letter or you're trying to get attention to an issue through some form of written communication, just know it does not have to be perfect. It's better for you to send an imperfect letter than to not send one at all because you want it to be perfect and you want it to be formal. Social media posts. A lot of members, decision makers, are on social media these days, right? Having a post and tagging them, or making a post and tagging them, is a great way to start advocating, right? Commenting under their post if they post something regarding your issue, right? Reaching out to them via their social media messages as well. If you don't receive anything or you don't hear anything back from an email that you sent, reaching out to them via that venue. That is a great entry-level advocacy activity that for most people are a low lift. Now, if you're not well-versed in social media or you don't want to utilize your social media, that is fine. But just know that using social media and making a post is a great entry-level activity to reach out to the general public, to reach out toward your friend, to reach out towards a specific decision maker. It's all great. Now moving on to the medium lifts. Letter writing campaign. And the reason why I have this as a medium lift is because it takes a level of organization, right? It takes a group. So if you are trying to change a law, right? If you're trying to stop a bill, right? If you're trying to get something on the ballot or communicate with your city council or your civic association about something local in your community, gathering folks, making a team, and having that team send a letter as a group is a great medium lift. Creating a petition is a great medium lift. There are a lot of online tools to create petitions and get these petitions shared with the general public. Great medium lift. Having a newsletter, right? If you're trying to organize locally, gathering a list of email addresses, sending them updates every week, every 2 weeks, maybe monthly, that's a great medium lift. If you want to create a community group and then utilize that activity. Or I know Prevention Action Alliance has newsletters. Other organizations have newsletters asking to be featured in someone else's newsletter to share your story, to share your journey, right? To bring attention to your issue or your community. That is a great medium lift. Just reaching out, again, using that low lift, maybe an email, and then swapping in for that medium lift once you're actually featured in the newsletter. That is a great progression of an advocacy strategy and a great method to really reach anyone, especially the general public. Having a stakeholder meeting. And by stakeholder, I mean anybody interested in your issue or anybody with a vested interest in your issue, whether it's a community organization, whether it's a company, whether it's local members of a specific entity or body. Organizing a community meeting and saying, hey, we have this issue, or hey, here is my story and here's how you all can help. That is a great medium lift. Again, it can happen anywhere. It really just depends on how many stakeholders you're having, what the issue is, if there's a specific forum, if you want it to be organized by your city council, that is an ask that you can make. But for me, what I've seen, I see that as a pretty medium lift for folks. And then we'll get into, and then we're going into now the heavy lifts, right? Having an in-person meeting with a member, right? Having a virtual meeting. If you've participated in our advocacy days, or this past occurrence was an advocacy week, those can be heavy lifts for folks. And I understand that. Dealing with decision makers, regardless of the level that they're in, can be a very daunting task. So that's why I put that in the heavy lift. But at the end of the day, what I want you all to understand is these are community members. These are people. They might have a title as senator, city council member, mayor, but they are individuals. And at the end of the day, if you connect with them on an individual, a lot of great things can happen. But within the category of heavy lift, you have in-person, virtual meeting. testifying on the bill. That tends to be a heavy lift for people because you have to go through a process in order to be approved for that testimony, submitting a witness slip to say, hey, I'm going to speak out on that issue. I know that is something that Prevention Action Alliance can do at the state level for you all. And if you all are trying to testify on ordinance at a local level or something in your community, feel free to reach out to us as well. Or reach out to other individuals, going back to that mentorship piece, that might have done it before, right? Even if they haven't done it for your issue, asking them, hey, how were you able to testify in front of council on this ordinance? Hey, how were you able to get an audience with this civic association or with this organization to talk about your issue? And see what they have to say and follow suit. Or rally, right? Organizing folks to either stand before a building and, having speakers and all of that, having an organized outside event. That tends to be a heavy lift for people, and that requires a lot of organization, but it's something that everyone is capable of doing. So again, taking a step back, looking at these low lifts, these medium lifts, these heavy lifts. For some people, testifying might be a low lift, right? For some people, sending an email or letter, especially if you're, starting off your journey, that might be a heavy lift. It's okay. But what I want you to know is whatever you end up doing, whatever tactic or medium you end up using, that is a step in the right direction. And that will build on future change. So does anyone have any questions about the low lifts, medium lifts, or heavy lifts? Or if you have an example of an advocacy activity that you don't know where this might fall, we can kind of talk through that. I'll leave that open for a few questions or a few moments. Alrighty. So I like to end my presentations with a wrap up / call to action. First point I want to hit and make sure I hit again and again and again. You do not need to be an expert, especially in the field of behavioral health. Folks at the community level, advocates tend to worry about the data that they're using, whether they have enough data, right? Whether their story is appealing or whether their strategy is correct. You don't need to be an expert. Again, just engaging is enough. And I also want to remind you all that you are the expert of your own story. There is no one on the face of the earth that knows your journey better than you do. So when you're going into a meeting, when you're telling your story, keep that in mind, right? You might be talking to someone with years of behavioral health experience and a litany of data at the back of their mind. They can pull data from this and that and really talk to you about your issue in a very data-driven way or very informed way. But when it comes to your story, right? When it comes to your experience, your journey, you are the expert. So when you're engaging in advocacy, when you're reaching out to people and you're trying to connect, use that as motivation, use that as strength, right? Use that to build up your stamina, because it's the truth. You all have the skills to advocate, right? Everyone does. We've all advocated at some point or another. When people think of advocacy, they think about advocacy in an official capacity, talking to a senator, right? Talking to the mayor, right? Organizing. But at the end of the day, when we go through our daily lives, when you're talking about what you want for dinner, when you're looking to purchase a vehicle, purchase a home, and you're debating this and that, you're advocating for yourself. You're advocating for yourself. So really, at the end of the day, advocacy is all about communication. It's all about engagement. It's all about knowing your issue, knowing what you want, and knowing what ask to put out there in order to achieve that goal or that want or that need, right? And we've all done that in one way or another. So when you're talking about engaging in advocacy and whether you are capable of doing it, you are. Everyone is capable of advocating. So you're the expert of your own story And yes, you do have the skills. Again, all you need to start is a clear goal. Know what you want to do, know what you want to change. Once you have that, the sky's the limit. Once you have a goal, once you have something that you want to achieve, everything else when it comes to creating the advocacy game plan will be easy to formulate and create. Look at everything as a learning experience, right? Even if you don't achieve what you want to achieve, even if you hit a roadblock or you feel like you're stuck, it's a learning experience. Once you advocate once, you're better the next time, and the next time after that, and the next time after that. So just, again, engaging, you'll gain that experience, you'll become a better advocate. And yeah, so I mean, that pretty much hits all of these bullets. If anyone has any questions, I'm curious to see what levels you all are interested in when it comes to this work, whether you've all had experiences advocating, whether you all have general questions about advocacy. So just leaving it open for that. And if you all don't have questions at the time, but think of something you want to reach out later, Gretchen, I can put my email in the chat for folks. And again, I'm an open book. Ask me any question, and I'll do my best to get you that answer.
Thank you so much, JP. And yeah, if you could put your contact information in the box for everyone, that would be great. We are going to go ahead and take our final 10-minute break. And when we come back, a member of our advisory council will be introducing our final speaker for today. Thank you, everyone. Good morning and welcome back, everyone, for our speaker of the day. And introduced to her, our final speaker is Advisory Council member Shelly Bornstein. Shelly, are you with us?
You can hear me?
Shelly, it's nice to have, yes, it's nice to have you with us this morning. And Advisory Council member Shelly Bornstein will now introduce our third speaker for today. Go ahead, Shelly.
Good morning. Glad to be here, and good morning to everybody. So I'm going to announce Brenda Stewart. Brenda and her husband, Mark, founded the Addicts Parents United Support Organization in June of 2015 after dealing with addiction within her family for many years. Their closed groups are for parents of children with the disease of addiction, parents that have lost a child due to the disease, and grandparents raising the grandchildren because of their child substance use disorder. Brenda is part of the Recovery Ohio Advisory Council for Governor Mike DeWine and on the advisory board for the GAP Network through Prevention Action Alliance. TAP United works with many in Franklin County and beyond, including but not limited to the HOPES Task Force, Franklin County Sheriff's Department, and other police organizations throughout the Ohio area. Brenda also works with the Cleveland Clinic, Adams Board of Franklin County, Columbus City Council, Columbus Task Force, Coroner's Office, Prevention Action Alliance GAP Network, and the Ohio Citizens Advocates for Addiction Recovery. Please welcome with me, Brenda Stewart.
Hi there. Thank you for having me, Alicia. As Alicia said, I have two sons with the disease of addiction and or mental illness. Even though they're now 34 and 36, they'll always be my kids. I've been walking with this journey with them for over 15 years. And addiction and mental illness has been running through our family for many more than that. For today, both my sons are in remission. Today, they're still alive. They aren't just a number. Their names are Jeremy and Richard. Many of my friends aren't as lucky as I am. They've had to bury their kids. I know this could be me tomorrow. I can't put into words in 5 minutes my experience walking this journey as a parent, but I can tell you that it's not one that I wanted or they wanted. The stigma that surrounds us due to this disease we face daily. Yes, we're making some headway, but still many of us feel totally alone and isolated and afraid to talk about it. Years ago, I used to be afraid to talk about it too. You talk about your kids and what college they're in. I talk about my son graduating drug court, getting off life support, or being released from his latest mental health hospital. Sorry. You should see some of the reactions I get. Most people don't say I'm sorry, give me a hug. They look horrified and walk away, not knowing what to say. But today, I know that this disease is not the result of bad parenting, as though it seems to suggest. But what I do see is horrifying, not wanting to even acknowledge that it could be their kid someday. Never say, not my child. This disease can affect anyone. No one is immune. But see, what used to make me feel alone, that's no longer. I know I have a voice, and I will use it, not only for our parents, but also for our children, to speak for the voiceless. And those of us parents still afraid to say, I'm struggling, I'm hurt, I'm broken. I spent my retirement trying to save my kid. I'm raising my grandkids, and one is supposed to be my retirement years. My husband and I are two of those grandparents that have been doing this. And nothing I'm doing is working. I just want to give up on myself. I hear these stories every day. I used to be one of those parents. I was stuck. I was wounded. I was lost. Wondering where my rehab cell was for that week. I was hopeless. I was at my wit's end. I had no support and nowhere to turn. I finally found my own self-care through face-to-face meetings, going to a counselor, seeing my doctor for depression, later to find out that I also am now struggling with PTSD due to all the trauma that I've been through to see my children suffer. None of it's easy. This is a family disease. My path was lonely and very scary. Sorry. I found serenity, but it took me a long time, and it's a long process. I couldn't stand to watch another parent struggle the way I see so many do. The Addicts Parents United was formed so I could help ease the way and promote self-care for other grandparents and parents. But my family journey with addiction and mental illness is not over, and it will likely never be over. Though my sons are currently in remission, addiction and mental illness are a lifelong relapsing brain disease. A lifelong relapsing brain disease. I must remain vigilant always while advocating for a better system of care for the mental health. Currently, we use our criminal justice systems as our treatment providers, while our insurance companies are judge and juror over the doctor's domain, determining who stays and who goes, dictating one medicine that's working over another that they're going to pay for. It's a dizzying merry-go-round that never seems to care about me or my sons. As a council member, a mother, grandmother, and survivor, I hope that we can use this day to find ways to make our system more compassionate, more accessible, less stigmatizing. Our community and our leaders need to have a better understanding that this is a disease. Again, I'm going to say it, this is a disease. We all need to know that people with addiction and mental illness struggle in what can be a very public and stigmatizing way. They still have value as a human, and two of them are my children, Jeremy and Richard. Addiction and mental health issues has been with us for thousands of years and will be with us for thousands more. I have a dream of a world where addiction and mental health is truly understood, where treatment is available as needed, where we as a whole society treat our children with compassion and as a valuable human being that they are, not as I see most treated today, where parents and family are treated with compassion. I just want to end with this. See, my child has dreams too, just like your children. My sons didn't plan to grow up and be in and out of the court systems, mental health hospitals, prison, jail, be homeless, or lose their kids and almost their lives to this disease. But today my sons are still alive, and where there is life, there is always hope. Not only for our children, but for our families. Let us continue to share our stories, our hopes, and our mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Kind of hard to watch. Mark's trying to pull up our screen for our PowerPoint here. Just give us 1 second, please. We called our.
Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, it is beautiful and you're good to go.
Thank you. We're calling this From Chaos to Compassion, a Parent's Perspective. As you can see from my video, which I'm having a little struggle here right now, the reason for my passion, you're looking at my 2 sons, Jeremy and Richard. Richard's on the left, Jeremy's on the right. Today they're 38 and 36. They are both in remission, but the last couple of years have been the last 2 years since that video has been also very rough. I just want everyone to understand, never say not my child, because this can affect any family, not just mine, but as you've seen from the speakers, many others. We are blessed that my sons are still alive today.
And in order to understand Brenda, I have to digress a bit to give you a little story about the beginning of our marriage. We've been married 18 years, so 19 years ago was when I proposed to Brenda. And I had the Hollywood vision in my mind that this was going to be this magic event. Just like Hollywood, I had a song that I had written that I was going to sing, and it would end up with Brenda in tears going, "Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes." So we had our dinner, that wonderful 7-course romantic dinner. I got down on my one knee. I sang my song to her and I said, "Will you marry me?" And Brenda surprised me with something I never expected. She said, "Under one condition." Now here I am, a vulnerable man on my knee. I did not anticipate it being a negotiating session, but I had to ask, okay, what's that condition? And she said that we go to marriage counseling starting now. Like a true man, I said, "Well, don't you think that we ought to give this marriage a try? And if we get in trouble, we'll go to counseling." And her answer to me was, "No, I've been married before. And if I do it again, I'm going to do it the right way from the beginning." So that's really it will play into our journey as a little bit later, but it's the story at the beginning and just a little picture of Brenda and the kind of person she is. Our journey is like so many others. Once you find out that your child has the disease of addiction, this was all pretty much gone over by others, but these are the things that we experience, of course. The fear and anxiety. My future is no longer what I had anticipated it to be. I don't know what my future is bringing. Everything is turned upside down. About 15 years ago or so, but when we started, I think the stigma and shame was much worse than it is today. I think that we are making some progress, but there's that shame and the stigma. I was a business owner. No one could know that I had a child with addiction, so we kept it quiet. We didn't talk about it. We didn't share it. And of course, the guilt. Somehow it's our fault. That feeling of I'm all alone. Nobody else will understand. That anger, the uneducated view that it's a choice. What's the matter with you? Why can't you make right choices instead of wrong choices? That resentment, our life had changed drastically now that we had addiction within our family, and resentment of why is this happening to me? It's not my fault. Why? Of course, the depression, depression being defined as that things are hopeless. I can't make any change. Life is out of control. And as all parents, we got consumed with the drive to fix it. Since it was our fault, since we were guilty, we had to fix it. So we spent many years in that arena of trying to fix our kids. We didn't understand the disease, and we experienced what they describe anticipatory grief. I say that because we planned their funeral, we planned their we planned what we would do when they die, and every time the phone rings, it was that question, is this going to be the time? Is this the call that we dread?
Is it the knock on the door? It was the insanity of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results in that process. What I did for myself personally is some of the things that Travis mentioned earlier, and that was going to counseling. Luckily, as said in the beginning, we started counseling many years ago, and we come to find out that the counselor that we were going to was also in recovery for about 20 years. So she understood as we began going through the process of this. Support groups. I was sitting at the computer one night. I've got a 2 and a 4-year-old that I'm now raising. I'm broken. I don't think anybody gets me. And I get online to search to see if there's any kind of support for me out there. And that's when we found a great parent support group meeting locally in Columbus. I really got educated on the disease because I thought I was educated because heck, I'd been around addiction basically most of my life. My ex-husband's in recovery, my sister's in recovery. Just a long line of addiction in our family and mental health issues. But I really wasn't educated at all. So that really helped. Seeking the help from my doctor for my depression. I was asking basically where my pallet cell was, and that's not a joke. I was in a really dark place, and come to find out that I was also suffering from PTSD along this journey through everything that we had been through. So going to my doctor for my depression and being honest about the things I was going through helped me in my process. Our addiction had become trying to fix our child, and learning self-care, I found for me was essential for my recovery in this, because my addiction was to trying to fix my child.
And I should add that from the very beginning, the way Brenda set it up, we've been going to counseling either weekly or bi-weekly for now almost 19 years.
You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. And I'm talking about from my own self and my journey through getting the help that I truly needed. It kept me from that deep despair. Doesn't mean that I don't still struggle at times, but it really truly has helped me move along in my journey. Things that we learned along the way is that, of course, addiction is a lifelong chronic relapsing brain disease. The 3 C's, I didn't cause it, I can't control it, and I definitely can't cure it. The codependency aspect, really digging into that for myself personally. I found a lot of great books that I read on that to understand how enmeshed I was in my child's lives, my son's lives, and trying to step back and take a look at myself and where I fit in all of this. Realizing that I had to have some boundaries. Things I had to learn. I wasn't educated. Learning to love my sons in a different way. And by that, I mean, basically learning to love them where they're at. Moving from anger and resentment to compassion and acceptance. And when I say learning to love my sons where they're at, brings me to a little story. My older son has been in many mental health facilities, psychiatric hospitals, more than I can count. One of the ones he was at a few years ago, I was sitting down at the table with him, and he said, "Mom, I'm probably going to die an addict. You just need to accept that." And that's when it really clicked. This is very possible that this can happen, and I need to just love him where he's at. Of course, have my boundaries, but be okay and love him where he's at. And from learning all the things that I learned through this process, it really helped me move forward in my own recovery. And I have a lot of gratitude for everything that I've learned, and a lot of gratitude for everybody that I've met along the way.
I think it's just, it became kind of our story when you replace, why is this happening to me, with what's this trying to teach me, everything shifts. That's really the foundation of our, or the summary of our experience as we learn to deal with addiction in our family.
Sitting in those meetings, we realized that there's thousands of parents who are just like us, that I think that we're the forgotten ones a lot of times. Everybody's so focused on our children that we forget about ourselves, or we forget about the parents and the families that are behind our children. I felt that we need a safe place that we could share and come for support, where we don't give advice. It's not a place that you're judged. We are a community. We share our experience, strength, and hope. I believe it takes a village, and a village of people that truly understand what you're going through, that you can sit with, that you can share your stories, where you're not judged, but you're given love and support from others that understand. And that's the reason behind Tap United, because where there's community, there's people that truly understand what you're going through, and people that can relate to you and walk beside you and support you through it all.
I remember sitting around the kitchen table with Brenda and what are now her admins, and their dedication to, the parents are the forgotten ones, and they need a place where they can come and come together and find strength in community, and through that strength in community, advocacy has arisen.
As I said, it takes a village. And our village is the Addicts Parents United. We were founded in 2015. We're a nonprofit. We started, of course, everything starts small, but through being online and being with other parents, we have grown tremendously. We've been on 60 Minutes. We've been in newspapers. We've been on TV. We work with a lot of people in the community. A lot of our members have also shared their stories, and I believe sharing our stories and putting real people behind those stories, those faces, can truly make a difference when it comes to stigma, showing that we are real people. And this is all part of our journey, and hopefully softening some hearts. Basically, in a little bit of a nutshell, our story is, as parents of children who suffer from the disease of addiction, we have come to learn that while one person, our children, may have the actual medical symptoms and or diagnosis of this disease, we all suffer from the pain, chaos, and consequences of substance use disorder. The Addicts Parents United Closed Support Group, TAP United, is an integrated and comprehensive resource for parents who have a adult child with a disease of addiction, substance use disorder, as well as for those that have lost one or more children to the disease of addiction. We provide support for parents that focuses on giving hope with the utmost emphasis on self-care. Sharing individual experiences in collaboration with similar groups, we're a united force for improving our own well-being and changing the public perception of substance use disorder, working to erase the disgrace associated with the disease. Self-care, we believe it's possible to live a life of reduced fear, panic, and depression by changing our own paradigms about addiction and the way that we think and behave. We believe that recovery of parents and other family members is just as important as the recovery of the family members with substance use disorder. We believe addiction is a family disease. We believe the medical research and conclusion that addiction is a disease and not a choice. We believe it to be critical that the public attitude and perception of substance use disorder must be changed in order to eradicate the growing public health concerns.
Brenda has put together through the Facebook platform 3 main support groups. There's some other tangential ones, but her 3 main closed Facebook pages are the main page, the Grands United, and the Survivors of Loss.
By closed pages, we mean that we screen very heavily for the groups to make sure that the people that are in our groups are actually parents, grandparents. So we try to keep the page as safe as possible on Facebook to be able to share and not have to worry about it. Our main closed support group is the Addicts Parents United main page closed support group. It's a support system and advocacy group comprised of members that have a adult child with a disease of addiction. We support each other, sharing our stories without giving advice and letting other parents know that they're not alone. Our main closed support group is focused on giving hope with the utmost emphasis on self-care while navigating through the devastation that is caused by the disease of addiction. We have a host of files, and we have a lot of other great information for our parents, including Goodreads for us, videos that are informational, a card list for our incarcerated kids, resources that our parents can print out on rehabs and sober living and more. It's a place that we come together, we share our deepest hurts and our rewards. We share everything, and we know that we're safe to share there. We know that we're not being judged there. Yeah, our membership right now is about 4,000. We, like I said, it could be a lot more, but we're very particular on who we allow in the closed group. We also have every Sunday night a closed support group meeting on Zoom for our parents on our main group page. Again, offering more support to the parents. We also have a phone list that they can pick up the phone and call anytime. A lot of different avenues to getting the support that you need.
The Grands United was a page created specifically for grandparents raising grandchildren.
On the left, you'll see me with my two sons, Richard and Jeremy. On the right, you will see my two grandchildren that we ended up adopting, and that's Kenny and Skylar, a second generation of raising children.
The Grands United was formed for grandparents raising grandchildren or trying to gain guardianship, visitation, or custody of a grandchild or grandchildren due to the disease of addiction affecting the family unit. Supporting each other, sharing our experience, strength, and hope for the second time around. And only those who go through it can understand and support for the trials of parenting again. We see the importance of protecting children from the fallout of the disease of addiction, be it in the courts, their living situations, and beyond. Many of us know just how difficult a task it can be. This page is dedicated to the grandparents facing the journey in this epidemic in more ways than we had expected or anticipated.
And that group was formed because we did see through our main page many grandparents experiencing this, and we felt that they needed their own platform also. And Top United Survivors of Lost Closed group is for our parents that have lost a child due to the disease of addiction. That was formed due to all of the losses that we have seen through friends, family, and others. This is a group that is just specific for parents that have lost a child to this disease. The survivors group is for parents who are united together as a result of losing one or more children due to the disease of addiction or circumstances of their substance use. The survivors group offers support to one another as they find a way to navigate through their journey of grief. We are not professionals on any of our pages. We are only parents that have lost a child and understand the pain. Top United hosts a yearly gathering for our members of survivors called More Than a Number. It's a stigma-free day of coming together as a community to share the children for who they were, not how they passed, and to get support. Another thing that we do in the community, one of the things we do in the community is our Honoring Lost Angels Blessing Bag campaign. We've been doing this for 6 years since we formed, actually even a little bit before. It's a way for us to give back to the community and to others. A lot of parents on our survivors group participate in this in honor of their children. On the screen, you'll see Michelle and a few other members from our Survivors of Lost group. They do campaigns a couple times a year. These bags are for the homeless. We also do bags for sober living. We contribute in a lot of different ways, trying to give back to the community in honor of those that have been lost. We also put together videos honoring their children. We have banners. There's a lot of different things that we do because when we are out in the community, we like to be able to share all of our groups with everyone.
And in support of those who have lost a child, we can't walk in their shoes, but we can certainly walk beside them. And in honor of that, we have our annual More Than a Number event. And it is an event that is celebrating the lives and who the children were, not how they died. It's a stigma-free day where people can come together and share their children and their companionship with each other.
And say their name. We also have tribute tables that line the perimeter of the room. The parents are given the opportunity to bring items that were special to them, of their children. They're given a little spot that they can set up, put on whatever they want, even if it's just a bag of potato chips. Reminds me of my kid, bring it. It's a beautiful day. And the tribute tables are beautiful to walk through. It gives parents an opportunity to talk about their children to other parents of loss and to come together as that community.
And it's a day of humor and tears.
Yeah.
It's a day of celebrating the beautiful children that these children that we lost were and coming together in a positive way.
Melba Sherwood is the main administrator of the Survivors of Loss group, a woman that lost her son many years ago and continues to give back to others. And we thank her for everything she does. She does all the screening for the Survivors of Loss group. So if you are looking to join the Survivors group, please look for a message from Melba, because as I said, we do screen thoroughly. Other things we do in the community, we've been to Fed Up a couple years. We really try to get out there in the community with information tables, let people know they're not alone. We did get the Recovery Advocacy Award a few years back with our parents of loss that have been on our main page. And unfortunately, there have been many. We send a wind chime from our group to have a memory or something from the group from us to give back to them, to let them know that they are supported in many ways. As I said, we do a lot of things in the community. You can always check out our Pinterest page or our Facebook group to see a few of the things we've done. And it wouldn't be possible without everybody coming together as that village. And this is about everybody participating or being part of something that, as Travis said earlier, can be bigger than we imagine.
It surprised even us, the power of community. TAP operates on a very minimum budget, and we really don't need a lot of money, because bringing people together in a community that can band together and make a difference in the world is really the power of TAP and of community that we bring together.
I am part of the Recovery Ohio community too. And there, for me, it's about sharing my voice and nothing else. Sharing a story of a parent with children, letting others understand that we can use our voice, and just really trying to let people see that we matter too. You know, we are important too. We need support too. And I believe that's a lot of what TAP United represents. I believe that the best teachers are those who show you where to look, but never tell you what to see.
And I got to share a little story about Brenda too. Moving from that point, from the beginning place of being ashamed of not telling our story. It's not quite this bad today, but Brenda's almost to the point where whenever we meet somebody, she goes, "Hi, I'm Brenda. I have 3 children with a disease of addiction."
Not that bad.
Not quite that bad, but she's out there, and the group as a whole is making a difference in this world just by starting the conversation.
We are an open book. I don't know whether anybody has any questions. If you do, please put it in the question or in the group chat. And I'm sure they'll let us know what they are because I can't see anything right now.
I'm going to stop the share and go back to questions in the chat.
If anybody has any questions, I'm sure somebody will let us know what they are. We'd be more than happy to answer them. You can always reach out through our website, which is www.tapunited.org. My phone number is listed everywhere. Feel free to reach out to me anytime also. We have lots of resources. And if anybody has any questions, just please let us know. And first, I forgot to thank the GAP Network for even having us today. We very much appreciate you including us in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda and Mark, so much for all you do. You are the most down-to-earth and unselfish people I've ever met. And I just want to thank you for sharing your organization with us. I have put, and I see a couple of other people have put the website up in the chat. So that is available for everyone. We've had a terrific conference. I really appreciate everyone's attendance this year. The GAP Network is going to be going over some very big changes over the next couple of months. I want to invite everyone to check in with us. Our website will be under construction. We will be redoing our folders with updated literature and resource lists. And I'm going to invite you to sign up for our newsletter list if you haven't already. And that is available at the GAP Network. At this time, we're going to be ending just a little bit early. I'm sure no one will mind since it's almost lunchtime. And in order to close us out today, I'm going to turn it over to Bobby Persinger. He is Deputy Executive Director at Prevention Action Alliance, and he oversees the GAP Network. So at this time, I'm going to have Bobby close, and then please don't forget to fill out the survey that is up on the screen now. Bobby, are you with us?
Hello, everyone. What a wonderful 2 days. I appreciate everybody's attendance, and I would echo Gretchen's statements by saying thank you to all of our speakers, our advisory council members for your guidance and input. And on behalf of the PAA team and our board of directors, just thank you all so much for joining us this year. This year has been a unique and interesting year for everybody with the COVID pandemic and social isolation and whatnot. And this conversation today and yesterday has just been very inspiring and very encouraging, not only for those who are experiencing grief related to substance misuse, abuse, and overdose, but I think in general. Our speakers have shared with us some wonderful opportunities to not only work with and through our grief, but also to use our grief to really help impact the neighborhoods and the communities, excuse me, in the state of Ohio as a whole. So thank you all for joining us. If we can be of assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us in the future. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday and an amazing weekend. And thank you all for joining us again. Bye-bye.